starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February Child Nutrition webinar. My name is Colleen Fillmore, and I am the Idaho State Department of Education Child Nutrition Director. Along with me today is the Idaho C&P State Agency team, and we are also happy to have guest representatives from our regional USDA office in San Francisco. So welcome. Please begin submitting questions, and we will address those at the end of the webinar. And just as a friendly reminder, please have your phone on mute unless you are next to speak. So thank you for that. So the one announcement that I'm going to give before I pass it to the rest of the team is we did want to let everyone know the latest on the Idaho PEBT program. The Idaho State Department of Education Child Nutrition Program is working on an application and a budget for PEBT. This stands for Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer. If you do not know what an EBT card is, that is a card through the food stamp program. It looks very much like a credit card, and the PEBT program, this is part of the USDA's government response to COVID-19 pandemic. The Families First Response Act provides the Secretary of Agriculture the authority to provide state agency plans to administer PEBT, and the Department of Education is committed to providing nutrition assistance to those families that are hard hit across Idaho due to this pandemic. Yesterday, our office did submit our plan and our budget to the Idaho SNAP Food Stamp Agency. And our hope is that the SDE plan and budget will be approved very soon so we can begin the process of building a software program for this. The expiration date for this program is this year, September 30th, so we don't have much time. We really want to move quickly on this. Again, the Idaho State Department of Education is dedicated to getting these resources to those families in need. Once we have more information and USDA has approved our plan and our budget, we will certainly make sure and keep everyone in the loop. So as you are continuing to put questions into the webinar, I am going to hand this off to Linda so she can talk about the next topic. So Linda? Linda, you might be on mute.
I have to unmute myself, and I have to show this screen. Can you see my emergency cost reimbursement?
Yes. Linda, you're up.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm a little tired today, I guess. I'm here to talk to you about emergency cost reimbursement. This is a program that has been unveiled, I want to say in December by USDA. USDA had 30 days from the congressional act to get something out to states. It was just released in January. So it is a operation cost reimbursement program where USDA will give us money to give to each of the school food authorities in the state of Idaho, money that you might have lost during March through June of 2020. So it is a very specific time frame that you can get it. It is for school nutrition programs, those that are doing NSLP, SSO, or SFSP, and child and adult care food program. So this, there we go. The eligibility is for SFAs who have filed valid meal claims for September through December 2020, or if you're not on the program at all, you have to give us assurances that you will file a claim during the first full semester after the end of the public health emergency. And I do know that there are only 2 or 3 that have dropped off the program due to the coronavirus. We will be looking at valid meal claims or assurances that you will file a valid claim within the first term of the end of the public health emergency in order to get the money. Now, not everybody will be getting money, and I'll show you in just a second the calculation. We are charged at the state agency to determine, based on the claims filed, whether or not you get reimbursement. So the reimbursement period is March, April, May, and June 2020. And we have to look back at a reference period of March, April, May, or June 2019. And for those that are new to the program during the pandemic, I'm so sorry for you. You get an alternative period of January, February 2020, and we would use those 2 months as average. You are considered new program operators. All other program operators will have the reference period and the reimbursement period to use to calculate. And how you calculate for new sponsors is you would take January 2020 and February 2020 and come up with an average. And that would be your average that would be compared to April, May, and June of 2020. So they would take the average minus your 2020 month's claim and multiply it times USDA's factor of 55% to come up with an amount of payments for each school food authority. So new sponsors, we have to sort of calculate differently. And I believe it only affects 3, and we have calculated those 3 already. This is what everybody else is waiting for. This is all others. It's April 2019 against April 2020, May 19 over May 2020, June against June. It's per month reimbursement. So you would take April 2019, subtract April 2020, multiply it times 0.55. And in this example, you're taking the 10,000 minus the 6,000, coming up with 4,000, multiplying it times 0.55, and you'll get $2,200. And it is per month. We don't add them all together. CACFP has slightly different rules, and I have in here contact Kim Sherman if you'd like more clarification on the calculation, because and I'll admit it, my world is sort of NSLP, and I have not really delved into the CACFP portion right now. But they do have similar calculating amounts. So the payment calculation does have special circumstances. So in March, because the pandemic sort of started in the middle, and our first case was March 13th, and don't ask me how I know that. March 13th was the first in Idaho, so we're taking the month of March and dividing it by 2. If the subtraction equals a negative number, that means you do not get any money whatsoever for that 1 month. So it's month by month. So if 1 month doesn't get it, you may get it for the other 3 months. So funds will be available to state agencies and must be obligated no later than Thursday, September 30th, 2021. Allowable use of funds include supporting normal meal operations, reimbursing funding that was made available to support dwindling resources. We know at the beginning of the pandemic, when gloves were $9 a box, suddenly in April they were $90 a box. That is what this is trying to help you guys do, is shore up your nonprofit food service account. And we are going to allocate funds to the sponsor based on our calculation. You will have until September 30th to take the funds, or we have to return them to USDA, which will bring me to key dates and deadlines. This is not going to be a fast-moving program. I will be the first to admit that. We have to submit 2 different applications to USDA. One is February 25th, and we're in the process of completing that now. And then we have to calculate all the funds and submit that to USDA by April 26th. USDA is estimating that sometime around June, they would give us the funds to allocate to the sponsors. And then you have to ask for the funds before September 30th so that we can send the funds to your school food authority account. It does not appear that funding will be released until May or later. The one thing I can say is that when we get the funding, what we will do is send you a letter that looks similar to this. It does have current amount available for your program by month, so you know exactly how much you will receive, and it will have instructions on how to go and get it. We're hoping that it can be through the GRA, but I will not commit to that right at the moment. Okay, so with that, that is Emergency Operating Fund, and I will turn it over to TJ right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks, Linda, so much. And welcome, everyone. I did want to just reiterate that, as you can see, based on the conversations that were shared by Colleen and Linda, USDA is working really, really hard to try and provide resources, much needed resources, whether they're community-based like PEBT or school food authority-based to shore up your programs. Some things are, they're working to try and sort of normalize things. And when it comes to USDA foods, we're just not quite sure how to normalize anything. And I'm sure that that doesn't surprise too many folks on this particular call. USDA Foods is a complex program. Prior to COVID, as many of you have probably experienced, it has been incredibly difficult to plan for and successfully utilize all of the USDA foods that were allocated in a year when we had no idea that we would be facing this particular scenario and pandemic and meal service models that we just couldn't foresee. But I did want to let everyone know that when it comes to USDA foods, there has been some relief in the form of entitlement. And so currently in WebSCM, entitlements are set for school year 18-19 school meal counts. In other words, what happened through the pandemic is not going to impact your available entitlement for ordering foods for school year 21-22. So with that, now that we've gotten assurances from USDA what the funding looks like, we've moved forward on what we can offer in terms of USDA foods, WebSCM training, and ordering foods in WebSCM. So I just wanted to let everyone know we've had a lot of very conscientious people sending emails saying, hey, when is this going to happen? And we have set an end goal. There were lots of dominoes that had to fall before the USDA Foods could act on this training. But the USDA Foods WebSCM training will be updated and ready to begin training by February 15th. So you'll want to make sure that you know how to log into the CMP portal, and you'll want to start that training. We will have all of the updated pricing and the spreadsheet and the forecasting that we made available before will be in the CMP portal starting February 15th. So please mark that on your calendars so that you're ready to go and take that training. Because when you do this once a year, while you may think that you are remembering some things, it's just really critical to participate in that training so you understand what the expectation is before you place orders. So with that, we'll move to the next slide, and we'll discuss the USDA WebSEM ordering timeline. So there are very stringent timelines that are set by USDA. In other words, they open the entire catalog on given days, and they close the catalog on given days because they have to consolidate trucks just like we do. So Idaho's WebSEM ordering catalog will be open on February 22nd. So that's a very constricted timeline. If you noticed, I said the training will be available February 15th. So we do encourage you to set aside some time during the week of February 15th to be able to complete the training prior to going in and placing orders in the catalog, which will open February 22nd. The catalog will remain open for orders until March 5th. At that time, it is a hard stop. That catalog will be permanently closed. So it's really critical that you prepare accordingly to set aside time. And keep in mind, you do not have to place all orders or all requisitions for product in one given time period. You can go into the catalog, place some requisitions, make sure that you print the appropriate reports, and then step out of WebSEM and then come back and place additional orders as you have time. But we just want you to be fully aware that on March 5th, at the end of the day, that catalog will permanently close, and we don't want anyone to miss that important deadline. Also, make sure now that you have the appropriate login access to WebSEM, because if you wait until the ordering cycle opens and then have issues, sometimes it takes multiple days to resolve login issues, because WebSEM is a strict user authorized software system. So one way that you can do that is log in and practice running the entitlement bonus summary report for program year 2022. Let me reiterate, program year 2022, because in WebSEM, we refer to school years as program years. And the program year is representative of the last year in any school year cycle. So while we're ordering for school year 21-22, in WebSEM, that is represented as program year 2022. I also did want to visit. We understand that there are many folks out there that are new to USDA Foods or new to the food service director role. The state agency does provide technical assistance. I highly encourage each and every one of you, regardless of your experience with WebSEM, please complete the WebSEM training before asking for individual technical assistance. The state agency is always willing to provide independent technical assistance, but we are also being tasked with, as you saw previously, some extra projects to ensure that funding is made available to schools to shore up your programs, and our time is extremely limited right now. So please do yourself a favor and help us out by completing the training in advance of requesting technical assistance. And then we will work to ensure that we can provide solid support so that orders can be put in a timely manner and correctly. So with that, I will now turn the time over to Mary Ann so she can address some SSO and summer food service program concerns. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, TJ. I hope everyone can hear me. Let me take the screen presentation so I can share my screen. So if you guys can just give me 1 sec. And I hope, can the team tell me if you guys can see my screen with the sponsor wanting to switch from SSO to SFSP?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Marianne, you're
Perfect.
good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Again, this is Marianne with the Summer Feeding team. I hope you all are doing well. TJ shared some wonderful information regarding commodities or entitlement. And so we wanted to take this time to share a couple of things to review over for summer feeding operation. So for this section of the webinar, I wanted to review a couple of handouts we provided to you in the handout section. So if you guys have access to that, feel free to read along with me. And definitely, if you guys have any questions at all, please be sure to post that on the question section of this webinar. So in regard to this handout, sponsors wanting to switch from SSO to SFSP, we've received a couple of inquiries and questions on how our sponsors can do this switch from one program to another. And so we wanted to provide this handout as a visual representation of who can participate and who can switch during the school year versus who has to wait until summer operation. So with this one, for any SFAs sponsors wanting to switch from SSO operation to SFSP, there's essentially 2 ways we can go on about this. Is one, on this left side of the screen, is for any sponsors that have operated the summer food service program within the past 2 years. You can switch over from SSO operation to SFSP. Please contact the state agency to determine the start date of the transition during the school year. As you guys probably remember from the fall, we have to transition from one program to another in a full month. We are not able to do it halfway through the month just because of our claim system. And so we want to make sure that we are starting at the beginning of a month when you guys would like to transition. So please contact the state agency to determine that date. You must opt in for the 2021 SFSP SSO waiver opt-in form, and it's essentially the same opt-in form from the fall. However, some information as far as response numbers and information in the opt-in form itself has been updated. And so the team and I are currently updating this form right now and will be available in the next week. But you do have to opt in for another waiver opt-in form titled 2021 SFSP SSO waiver opt-in form. And then after that opting in, you do have to update your SFSP packet application. A lot of information from last year's packet has been transferred over. So this is something that we can discuss when you contact the state agency and let us know if you would like to transition and get that all updated. And a little side note regarding this packet application is you can actually, if you normally operate during the summer months, we can have you update those site applications going into your summer operation. Since you're already going in there, we can update that all for you. And then last but not least, for these sponsors, you have to register and complete the Summer Food Service Program training modules through the CNP training portal. And the next handout I'll be reviewing with you all, we'll dig a little bit deeper in regard to the training requirements. So that is for the sponsors who have operated summer feeding the past 2 years. For the sponsors who have not operated summer food service program either within the past 2 years or not at all, this is the process that you must follow. So you cannot, if you have not operated the summer food service program before, you cannot begin the summer food service operation until the summer. You have to contact the state agency to discuss how to become a summer food service program sponsor during summer 2021. And then the same process as the other sponsors, you have to opt in for the 2021 SFSP SSO waiver opt-in form and begin your SFSP packet application. Just a little side note, it is a different packet structure compared to your NSLP packet or your SSO packet. And so we want to make sure when you contact the state agency, we go over that and we provide training and resources on how to get your SFSP packet completed. And then also, you have to complete the summer food service training modules through the CMP training portal. And again, we'll go over that a little bit more on the next handout, and then also during our time when we discuss you becoming a sponsor of the program. And then after all of those are completed, we do have to complete a pre-approval visit. Obviously, we're unable to do that in person, so it will be through a Zoom meeting. And that would essentially be the last step for you to begin summer food service program in the summer months. And so again, this handout is available on the handout section. So if you guys have any questions at all, please be sure to put that on the section for questions. And then my next handout are for the current SFSP sponsors. We wanted to make sure that we give you guys advance notice as far as completing all the requirements that you must complete before your summer operation begins. So as you guys probably recall, this information was sent out to you via broadcast email a few weeks ago. And so we wanted to just take this this time to dig a little bit deeper regarding this information. So for the current SFSP sponsors that are currently operating, you guys have already completed your summer food service program packet application. But as you guys probably remember from the fall, we had you guys originally put the end date of June 30th for the sites that are operating after the school year ends. And the reason for that is the current nationwide waivers are only in effect until June 30th. A little side note, the state agency have not received further guidance or information on nationwide waivers past June 30th, so just wanted to highlight that. But for your sites that normally operate during the summer months, please feel free to go in there and complete the site application and extend your date past June 30th. So if you already know what sites you're operating, and if you are going to be operating in the month of July and August, please feel free to update your site applications and resubmit that packet. So then that would give myself and Dominique time to review those site applications. And if we have any questions, we can let you know. Side note, for those updated site applications for summer operation, please be sure to complete that by April 30th. And as I mentioned earlier, the current nationwide waivers, again, are only good through June 30th. As of right now, we have not received further information or guidance, but as soon as we do and when we do, we will be sure to let you all know that. And the last section for my handout is the training format for the annual mandatory training for summer feeding sponsors. As you guys probably remember from last year, there are two training options available, and it's the same as last year. It is the Summer Food 101 training, and this is a training for new or for sponsors with new directors or leadership, or sponsors with administrative and operational changes from the previous year. This training will again be via online. So it would be completed through the CMP training portal, and it will be available on April 23rd, 2021. The next annual training requirement is the Summer Food Refresher Training. And this training is for sponsors with experience, directors and leadership, and no significant administrative operational changes from the previous year. This training will also become available on April 23rd, 2020 through the CMP training portal, and the state agency must approve a sponsor to participate in this training. So we will be sending out an email on letting you know which annual training, either the Summer Food 101 or the Summer Food Refresher, that you would need to complete. The other training requirements are online training modules, are the ones listed right over here. It's the general explanation of the program, monitoring requirements, training requirements, food safety, civil rights, and of course, offer versus serve, if you are utilizing offer versus serve. These training modules will be completed and available on February 12th for you to access, and it must be completed by all sponsors. So regardless if you are an experienced sponsor who's been doing the program for a while or new sponsors, you do have to complete these training modules. And again, they will be available starting February 12th, and they all must be completed prior to the start of your summer operations. And I indicated here the link to the CMP training portal. And of course, if you guys have any questions at all, please put that in the question section or contact myself or Dominique, the summer feeding team here at the state agency, and we would be more than happy to walk you through all of these steps. So with that, I believe Heather is next on the agenda. And so again, thank you guys so much for everything that you're doing. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Good morning, everyone. This is Heather, and I have some updates in terms of what software is available through grant funding. I did actually want to echo what Marianne was saying about our CMP training portal. If anybody is a new director, that is a tremendous resource, and it houses not only the summer food service trainings, but also we have some new trainings on seamless summer option operations. There are 3 courses that are currently available and live through the CMP training portal for that, as well as a new course on production records, and then a course on the nutrition standards with the rescission of last year's final rule regarding sodium, whole grain rich, and milk variety. There is a course that walks through what the 2012 nutrition standards were and now currently are to be in place. So if you have any questions on that, just wanted to steer everybody towards that CMP training portal. Make sure that you have an account in that. If you have any issues with that, Sean Charters in our office, and then also myself, Heather Bloom, are available for technical assistance for accessing those trainings. So to get back to the slide, that what you're looking on the screen here, the Idaho Online School Meal application is still available. That is available to any district that elects to use it through grant funding that will expire at the end of next school year. So you currently have the option to implement an online free and reduced application for this year. If you're looking forward to any of the reporting requirements, wondering how am I going to do that with free and reduced percentages this year, it might be an opportunity for you to consider a different means of collecting free and reduced applications. So that's available for implementation this year. It would also be a help if you are implementing the pandemic EBT that Colleen mentioned at the beginning of this webinar. So online free and reduced app is still an option for any district that elects to use it. You can see on the slide here the steps for filling it out is simply placing a request. That request form is available on our website. We have a button that will take you directly to the application form. It's really an interest form. There's no prerequisites for applying. It takes about 5 minutes to fill it out. And essentially that tells me to connect you with our vendor, which is Nutrilink Technologies, in which case they would contact you, figure out the technology requirements to implement the free and reduced app. That's their electronic software. Excuse me. And then set up a date to install it. So that's the process for the free and reduced app. If you're not interested this year, it will continue to be an option next year, but our vendor recommends implementing that over the summer. So if you're interested at all, if you find a moment in time to connect with Nutrilink, you can then schedule when is the appropriate time to install that software on behalf of your district. So that is something I wanted to promote. It's continuing to be available through next year. I also wanted to mention for anyone who is currently using or has already implemented the Idaho Online School Meal application, I will be sending out a survey form just asking about your experience and making sure that we are connecting you with the best customer service through NutriLink, and also how has it been working for you, if you've had any struggles or challenges, just so that we can share out with others who are interested in implementing it. So stay tuned for that. If you're already on it, I'll be individually contacting folks. It's not going to be a blanket survey or anything, just to get your feedback on that application. So with that, I wanted to put in a reminder for our town hall, which I believe is the next slide. And that's just another forum for communication. That's a little bit more interactive. You're able to see our videos. You are able to actually unmute yourself and ask questions verbally. We're hoping that's more of a facilitated discussion amongst food service directors and food service staff in schools. And that will be February 17th, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And that's all I had for updates. So I will turn it back over to Colleen for questions.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That was great information. And if anyone has any questions, you can either insert them here in the webinar, or please email us or give us a call. Okay, so let's get going on these questions. Can you please send me the presentation? I was on the call and missed some of it. Or when will it be available to watch again? Linda did answer that the webinar will be available as a recording under the Idaho State Department of Education YouTube, and it will also have closed caption. So we would recommend that, because the presentation does not include everything. A lot of it is verbal information too, but please let us know if you have any additional questions or thoughts. And Linda, did you want to add any more to that?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, next question. Is this reimbursement taking into consideration our student payments? With NSLP versus SFSP, they would not be apples to apples. NSLP reimbursement 1920 would be less naturally, because we have student pay meals too. Not sure if I'm explaining my question well. So Linda, I'll give that one to you.
Okay. So I can sort of see where you're coming from, but statutorily, they only allowed for reimbursements that we paid out to you to be counted. So this is only counting reimbursements to each child nutrition program from reimbursements. Well, I'm duplicating myself. We don't factor in any payments to student accounts to make the calculations, and that may or may not be in your favor. Just wait for the letter to come out so you know if you got reimbursement, or you can calculate it yourself. So this food service director is probably smart enough to figure out she's going to get a smaller amount of reimbursement. That we're sort of tied by the statutory language. Now, Colleen, can I add something not in the question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Heather was talking about free and reduced applications. You were talking about PEBT, and I wanted to marry those two together. If our PEBT application is approved, it is taking the free and reduced status of children in the 2021 school year. So if you find that you don't have any applications at all, you may want to reach out to some families and ask them to complete them for you. USDA has given us guidance that if you receive an application now for this year only, you can have the reasonable expectation that they would have been eligible from the beginning of the school year, and that would help with PEBT. So sorry, that was my little soapbox on free and reduced applications.
No, that's excellent to bring up, because we are very hopeful that our PEBT plan gets approved soon. And as we mentioned earlier, the expiration date is this year, the end of September. So we need to really start moving quickly on that. The other thing I would like to add with this CMP operational cost monies, we will be doing a statewide training on this for those school districts that are eligible. And we'll also be inviting your business managers, and of course, if superintendents want to attend, they can. This is very similar to the statewide presentation that we did with the Idaho Rebounds money from last spring. So you can be looking forward to that, again, if you are a district that qualifies for any money to be returned to you. Okay, next question. Can you please tell us where the past webinars are located? I think the easiest way to get to those is go to the Idaho State Department of Education website, click the link for YouTube for SDE, State Department of Education, and then when you get to that, type in child nutrition, and you will see a very long list of webinars, town halls that we have done since the pandemic started. They are all there from the very beginning, and they are closed caption and made ADA compliant, so please feel free to go out there and do that. Keep in mind that a lot of regulations have been updated and changed, so if you look at them from long ago, several months ago, things maybe have changed, so just keep that in mind. Okay, next question. Does SDE do the calculations for emergency cost reimbursement, or do SFAs complete these calculations? And TJ, looks like your name is in there. I'll give that to you.
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that Linda went over those formulas in her presentation on the costing, and essentially those formulas were just made available so you can do the work on anticipated reimbursement or payments, but at the end of the day, the state agency will actually complete those calculations, and then in the letter that Linda, she showed you the draft of what would be sent out, you will then have data imported into those, so you'll see what your actual payment, eligibility for payment will be. So thank you, Colleen.
Yeah, thank you, TJ. So that's good news. That means that you do not have to calculate it. We will do that work for you. And as Linda shared, the letter will also break it out by month, because each month will be different. Okay, next question. Will SFAs, will SFAs be required to complete non-program revenue reports this school year? So somebody on the NSLP team, would you please answer that?
Okay, I'll giggle. I'm sorry, it's February. I haven't even thought about it yet. I'm sorry.
Okay, how
more,
we can get
more
back.
information to come. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and Linda, I was giggling with, oh, sorry, Colleen, this is TJ. I was giggling with you as well because I think our crystal balls are broken and we just really have no idea what USDA may or may not say about non-program food revenue tool requirement at this time.
Yeah, very good point. And it just goes to show how we have a lot of moving parts, not only at the school district level, but the state agency too. But we do promise we will get you that information as soon as we can. And the person that put the question in, if they want more detail or if there's more to that question, please give us a call. Okay, next question. How does PEBT benefit the district? It's a really good question. The program really is to help food insecure families that qualify for this program. We did put out 2 different surveys in the month of December. One went to superintendents and then one went to child nutrition program directors. The majority by far of the district said that they were willing to take the program on and enter the information into the software build that we are going to do to help those families. So it really is a program that benefits the families that are food insecure at this point. And because of school closures, something like that, or shortened days for the students, if they did not have the ability to get a meal that they would have normally gotten under a non-COVID environment, this program fills in the gap for that. I will be very honest, and I know that Linda, Kat, and Sean, the 4 of us right now, are mainly working on this program. It is a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift for the state agency also, and we have been spending several hours on this. We do feel that it is a great benefit for feeding children for those that are food insecure. So I hope that I answered that question for you. If not, just let us know. Okay, and then someone is thanking Linda that it helps with getting parents in the turn with an application for this year. So yes, I do like the marrying that Linda did between Heather's program and the presentation she did on the application and then the PEBT. That is very significant since we had a lot of school districts that did not collect free and reduced for obvious reasons since children were eating for free. Okay, next question. So can I put in our webpage that people interested in the next PEBT payment, they will need to fill out a free and reduced app? At this point, we have not gotten that plan approved. So I would encourage you to try to go forward with the free and reduced app, but we really need to get that application approved by USDA. And that's the reason we can't give massive detail right now on what we submitted to the SNAP agency yesterday, because it just hasn't been approved yet. We don't know if there might be tweaks to that, but definitely would encourage you to start working on that. Okay, and then Linda also put down that you can put on the web page if PEBT is approved, this will help the families receiving benefits, but it is not approved yet. So thank you, Linda. Okay, the next question, how long do we have to get families to complete an application and qualify for the PEBT cards? I'll let others jump in, Linda or Sean or Kat, but again, the program has not been approved by USDA yet. So the main reason for bringing this up today is we want everyone to know that Department of Education is putting in an application and a budget. We have been charged in the Department of Education to build a software program for this, to do a call center, receive mail. So this will be a heavy lift for us. But again, we see the significance and the importance of the program. So again, does anyone want to add any more to that question? Okay, looks like the next question is very similar. Can we ask families to file an application in anticipation of receiving PEBT? And I believe that has already been answered. If you do give that message, you need to ensure that at this point they understand that it is still going through the approval process, because if we start getting phone calls on why they haven't gotten a card yet and we haven't even gotten it approved yet, we don't want to confuse the community and families, but certainly going forward with that free and reduced app is important. So team, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I seem to be sorry that I brought it up, because that is a majority of the questions now. So when and if you calculate or collect applications, you can put in the date of this year, but we haven't been approved for PEBT yet. We're working really hard to try to get it approved. That does not mean USDA has approved us yet. We were just giving you a heads up that if you want to start collecting applications, it will be in your family's best interest. We will take the date that the application was received and approved, but USDA has allowed us to take that date and make it go back to the beginning of this school year for this time and this purpose only. So I hope that clarifies most of the application questions that are coming up.
Yeah, Linda, thank you. And Linda, I am glad that you brought it up, because I do think that what you brought up really is significant with also the topic that Heather gave. Heather's art grant that has this application resource from the Department of Ed is very significant. It's a great grant. Heather's doing a really good job, and I think it does play very much into PEBT. So please just keep in mind, everyone, that PEBT has not been approved yet. We have put in a couple 3 plans that have been kicked, not all the way up to USDA, but over to the SNAP agency, and we're working with them to, since it is a SNAP program, a food stamp program, the Idaho SNAP agency is the one responsible for submitting it in the behalf of the Idaho State Department of Education. So it is a food stamp program, but the Idaho State Department of Education did put in a plan and a budget, and that's where we're at right now. Okay, next question. On the PEBT, when is the qualifying date? When does the free and reduced have to be approved? Again, I think we've answered that. This has not been approved yet, but it is, we do know that it takes time to do a free and reduced application, and that is one way that will show the eligibility for these students. So it is good to be thinking about that in anticipation of our plan getting approved. But again, it has not been approved. Okay, is there a specific date of enrollment in free and reduced status under the current BET program? Again, I think we've answered that, so we'll get back with you when that plan has been approved. Next one, what about the 30-day carryover for free and reduced next fall? Do they have to have an application on file for this year? So Linda, your name is next to that. You want to take that?
Yeah, we have asked USDA about this, so we've asked them for guidance on it, but at this time they have not answered it, so they do know about it, but I'm anticipating that the answer to this question may not happen until closer to the start of next school year.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. It looks like that's the last question. I'm going to make one more comment about PEBT. Very much appreciate all the questions on PEBT. It goes to show that all of you are thinking about it just like we are at the state agency. The reason we appreciate the questions is it has such a short turnaround. And since the plan has not been approved, we need to do a software build from scratch. We are looking at a very, very tight time frame. So we do appreciate your questions. We promise you we will get you the information as soon as this plan and budget has been approved. It's a large budget for the Department of Ed with the software build. And again, we do appreciate your emphasis and questions on this because it goes to show that you also understand the importance of this program. So to the state agency child nutrition team, can you think of anything that we should add that we have not with the questions that we've received?
Hi, Colleen, this is Heather. I think I saw a question in there about going back to the emergency funding calculation. I believe the request is just to pull up the PowerPoint that Linda had shared in terms of how those emergency funds would be calculated. So if Linda, if you're able to share the screen again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heather, thank you for that. I did see that. Thank you.
I can either pull up my screen or tell you what the calculation is for an existing school. It is taking the April 2019 reimbursement, NSLP, school breakfast, summer food, if you ran it, and subtracting it from the April 2020 reimbursement, NSLP, school breakfast, summer food, coming up with that dollar amount and multiplying it times 0.55, which will give you the dollar amount. So April 2019 all reimbursement minus April 2020 all reimbursement times 0.55.
Great. And if anyone, if the person asking that question does want a print screen of that, just let us know. Or is the PowerPoint in the handout section?
It is not, because
Okay.
it was straight from USDA, so I sort of wanted to keep it just visual right now.
Perfect. And it looks like we did get a response from the person who put the question in, so it looks like it did answer the question. Okay, well,
and Colleen, just one other thing. It's March, April, May, and June, and the only difference is March gets divided by 2. Those are the only 4 months it's good for.
Absolutely, that sounds great. Okay, it looks to me like we have gotten all the questions, and I believe that the team from asking that we have covered everything we have at this point. I will just echo what the rest of the team has said, that we do appreciate all of your hard work, and please attend the next town hall meeting. Those have been going very well. And at this time, this webinar is done. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.